Yo, what's poppin', Bagel Bros, and welcome back to another Patreon rant. If you want one of these for yourself, be sure to give me $10 a month on Patreon. This one comes from Funky Boy Haas, who says, rant about the advancement of AI in the past few years and its consequences, and why billionaire tech bros should have their dismembered corpses paraded around in every US city. I agree with all of it, even the dismembered corpses part. So AI... God, I still remember, right. So I knew, even before AI art was a thing, that AI art was coming. I could have warned everybody, but I did not realize how soon it would be. If you've ever seen the video Humans Need Not Apply by CGP Grey, he literally predicts the rise of AI art. He talks about how people, in regards to AI, say, hey, AI isn't going to replace art. That's like unique human creativity, bro. You can't replace that. Turns out you can. You absolutely can replace human creativity. And the reason why is because, like, it's obvious. Hollywood has been doing it for ages now. There is not a creative bone in those movies for the most part, and people still lap it up. And so I'm not sure why people are so surprised that the unique human goodness of creativity is so easily replicated. Turns out, yeah, you can. Now, the problem with AI... there's a lot of them. There's so many. In this rant, I've wanted to make a video about AI for a while now, and I probably will at some point. But for now, I'll give you some brief thoughts. So first of all, the most apocalyptic outcome that AI could have is ending the world. AI can repeatedly build itself to make itself smarter, and eventually it will reach a point at doing that so efficiently that it'll become so intelligent. It's more smart than every single human in the world. It takes over the entire Earth, kills us all, and eventually builds out from there and presumably takes over the universe. That's the bad ending. Now, unfortunately, some AI tech bros seem to be championing that. I forget exactly who. I believe Elon Musk himself gave us, like, coin flip odds or something to that effect that the world ends due to AI. It might have been a lower percentage than that, but his response was alarming, which is that, well, we should try, I would rather poke the bear. I would rather search this more deeply. Never mind the fact that we already have enough problems to deal with. No, we should work on making self-aware AI, which is for some reason something that a lot of tech bros want and are actively building towards, even the ones that have signed papers saying that they won't do it. Yeah, I wish I knew more about that off rip. I watched a YouTube video about it a while ago, and so I don't really remember all the specifics. But it seemed bad, is what I'm getting at. But even still, that might not happen. That might be too implausible. We might be safe. But even if the world doesn't end thanks to AI, it's gonna feel like it in about 15 years or so. So... we live in a capitalist system. For those of you who weren't aware, this is not a utopia where everyone gets all their needs handed to them. No, we are not post-scarcity yet. We are very much in the scarcity. So in order to live, people have to work jobs. And if you don't work a job, you die because you don't make any money. Sure, there are social security stuff, but we don't really have many of those in America, and they aren't really good. And so you should, you for all intents and purposes, you need a job as soon as possible. As much as some people pretend we live in a welfare state, we do not. And so, if you to get a job, jobs need to be available. Most low-level jobs can be replaced by AI right now. Already, cashiers are a dying breed. There are people who overlook the machines, but eventually we're going to get to a point where we no longer need those people overlooking the machines, that the cameras get so good at detecting whether or not you're shoplifting that they just do it themselves, and they can do it smartly, and they use ChatGPT to reason with you or whatever. And it's going to be a completely hollow, humanless experience. That is what Walmart wants. That is what their CEO wants, because that means that they no longer have to pay a pittance as a salary, but instead can pay pennies of electricity. Literally, like, it is in every company's best interest to replace as many of their people as possible with machines because it is always cheaper. Even if the initial investment is expensive, it will be cheaper eventually. That's why so many, animation studios and game studios are looking into AI art. Fewer artists you need to hire, and I mean, most people aren't going to tell the difference anyway. Most people don't really look for that sort of stuff. Most people assume that it is real art. Now, I'm in a unique position where I feel that my job is safe for the next 10 years. That is what I'm giving it. For 10 years, given that the world does not end and given that YouTube is still a thing, I will be able to still be a YouTuber. AI isn't that good at replicating YouTube because there's a lot of components that go into it. You need to be good at writing. If it's a video essay, which is what I do, and that's why I'm using it as an example, you need to be good at writing, you need to be good at editing, you need to be good at, fetching footage, understanding concepts about the internet. AI can't do that. It hallucinates constantly. And so while AI does run rampant on things like YouTube Shorts are also like brainless sludge. Nobody is watching shorts expecting something well researched. And so if you go onto my channel, you do get something well researched. And so I do feel like I have a niche there. I think that writing is kind of safe. Writing novels, which for those of you who don't know is what I would like to do after YouTube, and in fact I'm trying to do concurrently with YouTube. So recently, an AI-generated novel actually won a light novel competition in Japan. I believe it was for GF Bunko, but I could be wrong. Anyway, they obviously didn't get the prize money once this was found out. And they didn't end up winning. But they won for a time before it was found out that it was written with AI. Now that's just as much a smear on light novels themselves as it is, AI's ability to replicate human writing, but it is still scary. Lower tier sludge novels are able to be written by AI now because they are that predictable. And, when you have a tool that is entirely about predicting text, that's its job. Something predictable is what it's gonna write. But if you're writing something actually artistic, actually unpredictable, actually new, you're safe for now. For now. I always give these things a deadline of like 10 years. 10 years from now, what is it gonna look like? And the answer is probably worse, at least for us humans. Now, I also have bigger philosophical axe to grind against AI, because what I believe is happening to society is that we are gradually phasing humans and human contact out of everything. We spend every spare moment of our lives pumping ourselves full of dopamine, looking at YouTube shorts, looking at content online, always engaging in the internet. And to me, AI is just another version of that. It's a way to make sure that every single business is run by robots, and nothing more and nothing less. And sure, if we really did live in the utopia where, we're only getting rid of the jobs that nobody wants to do, and we're doing this so that we can eventually make Starfleet and, live in a post-scarcity world where everyone can do whatever they want, self-actualize at their own will, and yes, talk to people and interact with other human beings in their community. If we really lived in that, that would be cool. That would be great. We don't live in that. We are removing humans from the picture, but only insofar as making ourselves lonelier. We're only making things worse for ourselves. In this day and age, it is really hard to meet people, especially at my age, where I'm out of high school, I don't go to college. Where the fuck do I go other than a bar? A bar is really the only place you can meet people nowadays, because if you talk to people in any other context, they would rather not be talked to. This is especially difficult with approaching women. I don't think most women want to be approached nowadays, but that's aside the point. That's a separate tangent. The point is, it is really hard to meet people already, thanks in large part due to the internet. And AI is an extension of that. It is making things worse, and it is making things lonelier. It is also making ourselves dumber. People rely on ChatGPT for everything nowadays. At least some people do. And I've deliberately spent as little time using ChatGPT as possible. The only time I have really used it for my art is, funnily enough, in the last video, I asked it how some code works in order to explain it in my script, then showed the code and the script to one of my friends who actually knows a thing or two about code, and he told me, yeah, you got it right. So yeah, like, I can't even really trust its deduction for that. I can only use it for helping me come to terms with what it is and explaining it, but in terms of the actual writing, like, all of those words were my own. I didn't use anything that the AI put out, nor would I want to, because I feel like that defeats the purpose. And I'm sure that if I used AI more, I probably could get better prose more quickly, because an AI is just a word generation tool. It will always use prose-adjacent words, but I don't really want it to give me those words. I want to come up with the words in my own head, which is harder. I am handicapping myself to a certain degree, but it wouldn't feel authentic otherwise. So yeah, this has been a very long rant. Overall, we should put billionaire tech bros' heads on pikes, as this rant prescribes. That's about it. See ya.